for reconstruction. So we're on there's some add-ons there. The annual report, I get asked a lot of questions about it yet, and people say, what report? I haven't seen that report. I said, well, it's online. So some of them say they don't use computer and all this kind of stuff. Even some of our teachers that were in the school actually you weren't that computer savvy. So I phoned Kyle Weir to see if we could get funding, because you'd like this to be an annual report. We can get funding and to pay for the printing and the distribution. So we identified funding. He will give us $4,000 to print this report and circulate it. It would be a good update because we didn't really have much reporting during the whole COVID time. So it summarizes all the work that's been done, and we sort of get caught up with projects. It helps educate the community what these things cost and where the money comes from to get things done. And so I'd like to make a motion, ask council for approval. I've already spoken to all of you personally, and 3 of you indicated their report station to ask it to be put on the council. So I'd like to motion of council to get this report printed and circulated.
So I have a question. Sorry, go ahead, David.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I just want to let you know that Kyle Weir did in fact reach out to me about the PNID program that would be paying for it. I just haven't had a chance to call him back. So I was planning to talk to him probably tomorrow, if you guys are supportive of going this way.
So anyway, he did say he would give us $4,000, and I have a quote from the printer, and it'll work within that budget.
So I guess that would be my first question. Is that's great that $4,000 can be attributed to the cost of printing. I guess my question
the delivery as well.
If I could finish, the other follow-up questions that I had is, how many are we printing? What is the cost? What is the cost to mail? And is that above the $4,000? No. The other piece to this, and this would be more, I guess, of a suggestion, the way that the report is structured now, I think it would benefit from formatting, to have it to go also to for some formal editing as well prior to printing. So I don't know if those costs were captured in your estimate, Chief. So no, what is the estimate?
Well, the council did approve the report, so I did update it to reflect that we know the contract has been awarded to Core Build for the $69 million and then that the work is underway, and that we've satisfied all the requirements for so I amended the long-term care portion of it to bring it up to date. The cost was a little under $2,900, and we would probably use maybe some Loyalist students to deliver the report.
$2,900 from which company?
From what's it called? The one at the plaza by the metro there.
Are you able to circulate the estimate to us?
Yes, I can.
Because what I have here is just an agenda item sheet that states print and distribute to the community is to cover costs, but I don't know what the costs are. We know how much ISK is going to provide.
It was $2,900 UPS.
To print how many copies?
1,300 just for on reserve distribution. We're not mailing them. We're just going to deliver them door to door.
But there would be a cost for getting students to deliver these?
Yeah, we had those notices delivered. I think it was $300 or $400 to deliver. They used Patty Brinkle was able to get some students from Loyalist and some extra money to deliver those the protest flyers.
So we're live right now. Maybe the person that you're calling, you might want to take them off speakerphone.
Yeah, no, I'm calling UPS because
I understand that,
to send over the survey, the cost. UPS.
So what I was going to ask was reports, they can go stale. So this report was compiled in the spring, presented in the summer. We're now getting into October. I don't really like the idea of relying on students getting wrangled and delivering documents, or being responsible for delivering documents that, as the chief has said, are filled with important information. So I would like to formalize this. I believe I made a motion to formalize not just the fact that this report gets done annually, but I would like to also formalize the delivery and the mechanism for it to be distributed. So I would like to think that this report would be beneficial to have an updated report at the start of each year. So whether that's January or February, I'd like for folks to know where we're at, and then as the chief's kind of a midterm report as to where things are, how they are progressing. I think if we're gonna have these costs, and if ISC supports this information being distributed physically, that they would cover the entire costs and not just partial costs. I think we should determine what those costs are, including, I guess, secured delivery, is how I'll put it. And
Well, it's
not,
going to be more if you want to send it to junk mail. I didn't get a I would quote on that, but
no, but what I'm saying is that if, I don't know if I support having a college kids stuffing mailboxes, because there's PO boxes, there's some of the ones in the subdivision there, where like it's not everybody has a mailbox at the end of the driveway. So
so the quote was 2,000. We have to pay HST $2,442.82. I just sent it around to everybody.
And it's also making sure that everybody gets it, because I can tell you, I didn't get a flyer for the bus. I know that was supposedly taken around. I didn't get one. Wasn't in my mailbox, wasn't on my door.
Flyer for the bus.
Yeah, we paid someone or two people to go around the community and deliver flyers
Oh, I didn't-
on the weekend about taking the bus to the protest. So I don't know if anybody else got it. I know I didn't. Ah, very good.
So I think this would be good to plan for our next report.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
identify some
it's
of
going to
those
need to be
other things.
updated anyways,
Exactly.
right? Like you're going to have updates throughout it, and I think what Stacia said, it's a good report. It's very informative, but I think for a first run, it's awesome. And now that it's established with that foundation, we can kind of have those departments, whether you want to say portfolios, kind of outlined that are this page. So I think a little bit of formatting would be
Yeah.
good. And to give ourselves some time. And again, I think it would be great to hand that new council this report, so that the new council is informed as to the last couple years, as well as what's kind of on the stove right now, right? So I think it would be great to give the people an update, to give the council an update, and then at the halfway point, so the following January or February, when there's a public meeting, people can expect that. So I really do like the concept, and I think you did a great job with it, Chief. And I think it's unfair to put it all on you, because it's a lot of people that have to work towards it.
The reality is that with the workloads they have, that's probably how it's going to be in the
Well,
future.
I think this is my point, is that this is something that was added on to the workload.
Yeah.
This is something that's new,
And the other,
but now it's not new anymore.
and the other thing, you don't have, the time. You're doing it as you got time with meetings and juggling, and and so that there's not like a week for concerning
Yeah.
all of our energy and effort on that. It's that you're trying to work at it in between different tasks.
If I asked you Friday afternoon at 4:00, what did you do this week? It would take you time to write that.
I'd have to look at my
You
calendar.
know what I mean? But if I said to you Monday morning, Chief, on Friday, I just need to get a rundown of what you did all week. On Monday, you're going to jot what you did down. On Tuesday, you're going to jot what you did down. On Wednesday, you're going to jot. And then come Friday,
Well,
it's
I'm
done.
journalizing what I do now, so.
Right, but I'm saying this is a report that was compiled that hasn't been requested previously or in recently.
The only reason I would deliver is it's already been printed, posted on our website right now, and so I guess we would just make sure that the people that live in the community have the same information.
I don't see why we couldn't put them in our newsletter boxes, and we can put that out there. Anybody that wants a copy of this, maybe you don't need to print.
But maybe there is enough to do it by junk mail too. I don't know, because it's $4,000. This was $2,400.
But don't
Yeah.
forget, junk mail doesn't go to everybody. If people tell the post office they don't want it, they won't get it. Plus, that report isn't all comprehensive, right? There's some programs at CWC that were talked about, but many more that weren't.
Well, yeah, and I don't
because
think
the
you'll
report would
ever.
have been way too long. It was already 29 pages.
I know.
So I
So-
think
so
part
we-
part of that report was informing what certain departments do, which is good. I think if we're looking at, we can really compartmentalize this to where this the health kind of annual update. This is the even social side of health, or well-being, right? Education. Like there were certain things that weren't in that report as well. So I think it's good for the next one to kind of develop that template, plug in what you can that is still relevant, and things either need to be updated or included for the first time, they're done. And I think it's on you guys, David and Angela, to communicate this to staff that this will be an annual report and not as a chore or as an added layer of unnecessary work. It's to genuinely inform people how
What we're
many
doing.
times have we had conversations or heard conversations where the work in this building or next building is called into question, whether things get done, whatnot. So I think it's good to have information as to what's happening and what is going to happen.
Well, we should get it in and out, soon, because, we're going to be soon be in nomination mode and all that kind of stuff. So this is sort of a summary of what we've done so far.
Yeah, and I think most people have got that information. I know you've had a
Actually,
couple.
I was actually surprised when I went to two of the teachers at the school asked about it, and I said, well, it's on our website. They said, I'm not that computer savvy. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we can have some copies. I think some copies were available at the front
Yeah,
as
they
well.
were, but again.
So a lack of access to information is different than
Yeah.
no information.
So I thought if
yeah.
we just had it printed, I asked Kyle Weir if he could give us some money. He said he would give us $4,000 to print it. He thought it was a good report. And I guess in future, we can probably apply for some money to get it, pay for the printing and the publishing.
I would. That's what I'm saying. If he's willing to do it this time, I would like a commitment from them to.
Yeah.
If they're willing to commit to the printing and delivery costs for an annual report.
Because
I would like that.
because the people say they don't hear anything from the council. And so we explain to them in the report what your portfolios are, what you do, what your jobs are, and so it helps educate people that really don't know.
But the question, and this
It
is more of a
demystifies.
philosophical question, is that if we're providing the information in this report in the same format that already or existing information gets sent out, like the newsletter, like on our website, is it going to miss the same people that are saying they're not informed?
Well, again, you'll get the majority of the people because most of the people on the reserve have mailboxes, but there are some like on the Bay Shore Road that get their mail at the post office. There's not that many. There's some in Shannonville they get all their mail at the mailbox in Shannonville at the post office. And so you take so many copies there, they know who gets mail on the reserve and they put them in their boxes.
I guess my point is that anybody that wants this report, that wants to read it, to my knowledge, has access to it in a variety of ways right now.
Yeah.
So anybody that you encounter that says, I didn't even know about that, as soon as you have that conversation, now they know they can get it online, it can be emailed to them, they can pick up a copy here. So if there's anybody that wants that information, I think it's available to them.
It is.
So that's where I'm just not sure what we're addressing here.
Well, there still is a lot of old-fashioned people that read stuff they get in the mail.
Do they still read the newsletter?
I believe so.
Where do they get the newsletters?
In their boxes, or somebody brings it to them.
Okay. So perhaps we can. How many newsletter boxes do we have in the community?
That I don't know, but I can find out.
Right.
Mhm.
Perhaps this
so
could be a
there's-
special flyer.
Yeah, but
Special one.
but there is money to deliver it through the post
Yep.
office.
Yep.
It's not the lack of money.
For me, the money piece isn't necessarily the issue. I think we're talking about, a report that was our first attempt, a great attempt at communicating a year in review, and I think that we can use that as an example to do better and have that available for next year. So I like the suggestion from Josh that we look for a commitment. An annual commitment of funding from the department to do this.
Okay, I've
and
already
that we
circulated.
I'm sorry?
It was already circulated to the council.
No, an annual commitment, not just a one-time commitment, an annual commitment to this, but that we also to factor in some of those other pieces that, again, ensuring that we're not missing any departments or programs, if that is the case, that we have more perhaps coverage on our portfolios, on the advocacy work, on the actual political work that we're doing, in addition to that, and that it is formatted and that it looks nice, we're able to use some artwork from, perhaps from community members, that it's not stapled in the one corner, but it is actually a booklet that's printed and nice that people can use and look at.
I guess my final point is that if we approve this, it's going to get, this report from the spring is going to get mailed and sent out, and that's good. But then 2 months later, you're going to have to do it again.
So it says here, in the email that Kyle sent, which was already sent around to you on the 15th of September, as discussed, I'm writing to provide you information accessing the professional and institutional development program to support your request for assistance on the dissemination of accused annual report. Professional and institutional development program funds a variety of activities designed to support the 10 functions of good governance, including community engagement. To apply for the program, we require the following: a budget for the proposed activities. A simple table is sufficient. The program provides for an administrative fee up to 10%. However, there is also a requirement for applicants to cost share 10% of the cost, whether through cash or in kind. So mine is in kind because I did the work. A plan for future governance development activities, a simple list of potential governance development activities that could be undertaken over the coming years. There is no specific format to the plan, but should, at a minimum, identify the requirements, the proposed activities, and the year in which the activities will be undertaken. During our call, you mentioned the possibility of developing and delivering training to council following the December 2nd election. This is a great example of an activity that could be included in your plan, which we can then use to meet this requirement when you are ready to access funds for training. A band council resolution commitment undertaking the proposed activities given the dollar value of the proposed activities. I am happy to accept your email as support for the initiative. The proposed purpose of the program is to support the First Nations, develop lasting tools that support the 10 functions of good governance. With that in mind, I would recommend a policy procedure be developed in conjunction with proposed activities that documents how the Mohawks will disseminate similar documents going forward. I've copied Peggy Nolan, who has assumed the role of Director of Funding Services, and Ron Maven, Manager of First Nations Governance. Submission of the program. Would be happy to answer any questions, Kyle Weir. But he said he would accept the email as approval for the 4,000.
I see as support. I don't read approval, but
My point being is that you've got this document, and it's a good starting point. It's going to need to be updated by January for the new council. I would take this money if we want to utilize it, or if we do get actual access to it, and use it to best communicate that information to people that need it in January.
I'm just telling you, there's an awful lot of people do not use a computer in this community.
So what I'm saying is that, so let's
They don't
plan.
even have a computer.
So how many, it's a bit of a pivot, but how many homes in the community
About 1,300.
have access to, are connected to 7th gen internet?
I was just thinking that. Let me find out.
Because there's copies available. right
Because of the
there.
questions I get, Josh, I can tell that people have not read the report. And when you ask them, they say, "What report?"
And I don't disagree with that at all. And that's where I'm saying, so are they saying they'd like a copy emailed
So I
to
said,
their
well,
house?
this is where you can get one, or I'll go see that you get one.
Yeah.
So
I would rather just get it out and not have those type of calls, so these one-offs, because my office is very busy. I don't have time for that.
And I agree, and that's why I don't necessarily want to make a decision that has 1,300 copies distributed as a one-off, because
It would get rid of a lot of calls.
if
I'll just refer them to communications.
no, I'm not saying that, Chief. I'm not saying that if there are a
If
handful
they're
of
not in, we don't know when they're going to be
no,
in.
if there are a handful of people that want this mailed to them, then why can't we just develop something where the handful of people get something mailed to them? Like, does it make sense to mail 1,300 copies to somebody if only 50 people want the hard copy? Does that make sense?
Well, again, we ask for requests, and I can tell people not asked it because they come in and ask me.
I think we should have a mailing.
They don't use the systems that we advertise. As a matter of fact, even with this delivery of the flyers, we had 7 people on the bus, and people said, I didn't know a bus was going to take people there.
I think there were 6.
Because there's a lot of people still, you do the old fashioned way, they read what they get in the mail.
Well, it was actually sent in the mail. And so I think that talks
Well,
and
it was
speaks
done
to
like the day
the,
before or
the
something like
level
that,
of
so it's
engagement.
not much notice. So, but anyway, would you like it printed or not? There's money to do it. Okay.
Can we use the money for January?
Hmm?
Can we use that
Yeah,
same money for
For
January?
January, February. Yeah.
You all, can we have a motion then to deliver it in January?
Well, it's-
No, it would be
it's gonna
updated.
update.
It'd be a new one.
Update
It'd be a
them.
new one, yeah. Revised,
sense, doesn't it?
updated, formatted.
Because I think it doubles in effectiveness. Is it not?
Because there's no sense of making a report that's an awful lot of work and then sitting on it.
I don't think we've done that.
We haven't done it. We've distributed.
Because, you know, I have said a number of times with communication, you have to use the computer and you have to use the mail because that's the reality of the community. There still is a lot of the older people rely on what they read in the mail. There's just, everybody's not on the computer.
Yeah, and I think we agree with that. And I think we've gone through multiple avenues to ensure that people had access to it. I know that,
Anyway.
I think it's still available at the front. I think Josh's suggestion, and I think we've tried to do this in the past through communications, is to identify folks who prefer to receive materials by mail. And if we had that list, then we could send that out.
Nobody's responded, but yet they say we don't hear any information from the council.
Well, they're more than free to contact me at
But is
any
it
time.
possible? Is it possible? Like I said, in which way do they want the information? If it's hand delivered by the mail, because that used like we've changed from the newsletter. We no longer deliver the newsletter to everybody,
Correct.
but everybody that wants the newsletter knows where to get it.
And there's a lot of people do not have transportation. They don't have mobility.
There's
They don't
12
have people
locations
that'll
for-
bring them one.
There's 12 locations for the newsletter
Yeah,
stands.
the boxes,
The
yeah.
mailboxes, the boxes, the newsletter boxes. So 12 throughout the
Anyway,
community.
so what's the decision then? What's the motion?
I would recommend that we utilize this funding to distribute a annual report, and one that's, I would recommend we make it a January thing. End of January.
Does that make sense? January?
Beginning of February.
No. I'm just wondering, should it just coincide with, maybe it should be December? At least that's when council ends, right? No one begins. So maybe, I'm
I
not
don't-
saying this December.
I'm going
but
to tell you,
saying
I'm not
doesn't
doing
know.
this over the Christmas holidays if I'm the chief. And I'm not doing it if I'm not the chief.
Noted.
Yeah, well, it's not my mandate. Would be my mandate.
It's not, okay, I'm not going to ask that.
No, I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like, would it be fair to the new council and the new chief to do it in January? Or it should be up to the ones ending their term instead of beginning their term?
I'm not saying it's. I think it's ready.
It's gonna
for
be more of a
January.
staff issue. It's gonna be more of a staff and eventually be putting this together anyway, really.
At the end of the day,
It's their
anyway.
information.
at the end of the day, all we're doing is trying to communicate
Yeah. It's the
information
best way
as to what's
communicate.
going on.
What's the best
That shouldn't be, to me, if it's a known expectation for administration that this is an annual report, it's not now scrambling to figure out to finish this report. It is a cumulative
Yeah.
report.
Yeah,
It's a
and-
summary.
And you've given that information, the senior executive know that information has already been communicated to the staff at their executive meetings.
Yep.
Correct, Angela, David? So they know that.
Yeah, so it should be, the chore shouldn't be a huge chore moving forward, I don't
Well,
think.
it will be for those that have provided information, they know that, right? Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can just expand on it. Those that didn't provide that information, obviously, it's gonna take a little longer for them.
So is that your motion then to do it at the end of January?
I would say that have a report ready for the new year, each year. So annual report and a midterm report. I think I've already made a motion to that effect a couple months
I
ago.
think you did. I
And
think
this
there is a
report will
motion
just
on
hit on
record.
it. If they want one, they gotta ask for it.
This report, I'm sure will fill a lot of that next report, because a lot of it will stay the same.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a decision with the full council, but
Put that aside then. The hay tender. We had given direction sometime early in the summer to get the hay cut at the Culverson lands because of the danger of fire. There have been fires on that property before where the hay has been burnt when there were protests going on. The council then gave instructions to follow the procedure we used to use to have the hay tenders posted. That didn't get done till late in the fall. And then as a result, David, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a comment. So I understand that the tender has been, theoretically awarded to Bruce Miracle, and I don't think you can walk it back, but I just have a suggestion for maybe the next time we do this. Those two bids that came in my view, they can't be compared, because you have one individual who's offering a flat rate and they get to keep the hay, and then you have another individual who's saying, I'll give you $5 a bale, with us having no idea how you could possibly know that that's a better bid than the other one. And so the challenge that I think we face, just in my view, is that with Bruce's, we're not going to know what it's worth until after it's done. And then we're going to have to do one or two things, right? We'll have to probably send a staff member to to count the number of bales, right? To ensure transparency and fairness and all that. So just a comment about the difference between the two bids, right? I think it would have been better if we had a similar bid to compare, right? Because the flat rate, if they had both produced one, we would have had definitely a clear, better value for dollar. And that's all my comment is. So I understand that the information has already been provided in the direction given. So I just wanted to put those comments in there for next time.
The Amy's made arrangements with Bruce to count when he cuts and bales, that she'll go down and count the number of bales are there, and they'll figure out the bill there. The other proposal was that we have someone cut it and bale it and then sell it to them at a price. First of all, I don't know who we could hire at such a late date to go and cut the hay, if there was anybody available that would even be willing to do it. And the other thing, we don't have any idea what they would charge, and would it cost us more to pay somebody to cut and bale it than we could get for selling it. And so Bruce's proposal was he would cut it, and then he would pay us $5 a bale for whatever was cut. And it was just for this year only, and because we're getting on, we're now soon going to be in October. There's not much time left to cut hay. So I thought it was important to get it cut. We've received complaints from community members about it not being cut, which have been circulated to council. And so I thought it would be better just to get it cut. So I said, maybe you just go with these tenders were sent around. There was no response from anybody.
That is actually unfair, and I'll interject. That was sent on Friday. So
Okay.
the tenders were sent, and we did not have an opportunity to discuss.
Okay.
So I understand the urgency. I think we all agree that it's a fire hazard. Absolutely. But I think I'm more concerned about the process that I expressed in an email to all of you, that there really is no authority to award the tender without a council motion, and that's already been done. And so we can't backtrack on it, and that's fine. But we need to actually think about this into the future to determine what is going to be the best approach for those lands.
we'd get an answer, snow would be flying.
No, but we had a council meeting scheduled for today.
It never hit the agenda, chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the agenda
It should
now. In
the
retrospect,
tender should have been back within a few weeks after the council gave the direction to staff to tender it. It didn't get tendered till fairly recently. Months and months and months went by without the tender being done. I realized that staff were away on vacation, but the work just didn't get done.
So Chief, my comment.
We're running out of time.
So Chief, my comment All I'm saying is that you can't compare the two tenders because they're in a different
I agree,
format.
Dave.
That's all.
You can't, but I
Yeah.
guess it was a way to, there was some certainty, but at least it would get cut and you'd get $5 a bale. The other one we'd have to call around and probably tender to see if somebody wanted to come and cut the hay and what they charge, whereas by the time it come to council.
That's what the
Yeah.
second price was, I don't.
No,
That was-
one suggestion that Amy put forward was that they could get somebody to cut it.
Because that's what I think.
And there was nobody, she hadn't called anybody to say, will you cut this hay and what would you charge us to cut and bale that field of hay? And whether, the only one that cuts hay is Wilbert, and I think Bruce Miracle cuts hay, and I don't know whether they'd have time to do it or not, and there was no other information there to see whether or not there was even anybody available to cut the hay and what they would charge.
Well, that one quote was for $1,500. He didn't say he needed somebody to cut it.
No,
Right? Well, this would have been the conversation that what I was waiting for is, I wasn't clear on Bruce's $5 a bale. Was that based on somebody cutting it and baling it? And then
no, he's
give
gonna
us
cut
$5?
it himself and
Well, I
bale.
wasn't clear of that, according to the
Yeah,
memo.
I wasn't clear either.
That we got, that I read.
Mhm.
But that would have been part of the conversation we could have had today, but it was already awarded, so since having a conversation.
Did she say here?
So I have any idea how many bells, what size of bells, any of that stuff? See, that would be my other part of my question.
Yeah, I don't.
If you're trying to compare it to the other bid, that's all.
And actually, right now, with some of your other hay tenders, people are just going helping themselves. It's not being managed. They just cut it and take it. You get nothing.
Well, you get a clean field with no fire hazard, I guess. I didn't realize the field was a fire hazard. A field, I guess.
So it says, please see the email below and attachments. Bruce Miracles identified some concerns that DMC needs to be aware of. Amy has outlined below. We are unaware of the actual acreage of the land that can be hayed. Please review and let us know if you have any further questions that we will follow up on. She says here, hi Lisa, I met with Bruce Miracle, the farmer at Desronda Road, Friday, September the 15th, and entered the Culberson parcel settlement lands. Bruce showed me how some of the fields could be cut for hay, how some hadn't been farmed in a while and are too rough. Bruce informed me that it's really late in the season to cut hay. It's possible that, but need to be done as soon as possible. He suggested the MBQ hire a company with a large enough equipment to cut everything down this year until the chief and council decides what they're going to do with the land. I posted the flyer for hay tenders to cut this area. I received 2 bids, Bruce Miracle and Lee Fullafort. Please see the attached tender log. Lee bids $1,500 to cut under the condition he keeps the hay. $1,500 to keep the hay. I have attached the bids and tender. Let me know. And Bruce said he'll cut the hay and give you $5 a bale.
So you think there's at least 300 bales there? I have no idea.
I think there's over 100 bales there.
Well, you need 300 if you make up the $1,500. The difference, right? And what size of bale? Little ones, big ones? I have no idea. Anyway, that was been part of the discussion around the thing.
I mean, he hasn't cut it yet. You can still award it this belief if you want to do that.
Well, you can't really
Yeah, we
do
can,
that.
so.
You've already awarded it.
Yeah.
She called Bruce and said he could go ahead
I'm
and cut
sorry?
the hay.
And he's already started.
So
And he was,
So-
he was
So it was an
available, he
administration
was available to
decision.
get it done.
It was an administration decision then, chief, I guess that's.
Well, it was a tender process,
Yeah.
so it just speaks to, I guess, the validity of our tendering.
So I
process.
guess, do you want to make it, do you want to award it to Bruce at $5?
He's already started cutting, chief.
Can I ask a question? Why would that drag on for the whole summer without getting acted on?
I don't understand that piece because I remember when I came here, we asked
I
reach
brought
out
that up.
to the the trustee. Because we don't even know where that would fall in.
Well, there was that issue, then the trustee wrote back and said it was up to council.
Chief, a year ago, and I know Stacia was supportive of this, we said Kimmett was not to get the haying. So if we said he's not getting the hay, it's a no-brainer that says it gets tendered out. You don't just leave it sitting. And now here we are in
Well,
October, and
the
we're
other
looking
thing,
at hay tenders.
the other thing, all of these lands that the other thing I noticed is that some of our land crops were being planted there. And I said, who's farming that land? And I asked Lisa, I didn't get a report back to who it was on the land that we bought from John Green. Somebody had planted crops on it. And so really we need to get a handle on our lands, and they need to be brought into a management system like they used to be. You know, we tendered that this land is for sale. We knew what our pasture leases were. We knew where our hay tenders were, what the lot and concession numbers, but right now that's all sort of not being managed now. And so people are helping themselves. Will say, I cut the hay. I mean, Wilbert comes over and cuts the hay over here, and behind here takes it off to keep it clean. We don't object to it. If that's the system, well, then put it in a policy. You just help yourself, or do you going to tender it so that people can come and pay the band something for these resources? So we need to figure out, you know, get a handle on what's going on with the band property. The Dan Lewin farm, one time there was crops planted back there. As to whose crops are they? They just said, well, you weren't using it, so I didn't see there would be any harm in it, but they don't ask, they just go ahead and start using the band land. So that's the system. Right now, but we need to manage these lands. So David, maybe you and Lisa and Angela can get together with the staff on how these lands should be managed.
Yeah, Chief, we'll certainly talk to Lisa about it because it is under her directorate. Most of the stuff that you're saying, I've sort of heard, but I haven't had an opportunity to have her tell me that that's her understanding that's what's happening. So I think this discussion sort of needs to happen with Lisa because I don't know what's fact and what's assumption. So
yeah, there's the Dan Lewin farm, there's a John Green farm, there's the Dan Brandt land we bought on North Street there, there's the Clarence Green farm, there's the Culberson land, there's the hayfield west of Eagle Orthopedics. I see that's all cut and baled. I don't know who did it, but it's done. I'm glad it's done because it gets rid of a fire hazard. But again, we're not getting any revenue, and somebody's just taking the hay. And if it's free, then I guess we need a motion for that because that's not how it used to be. So if we can just have an annual process to tender the hay a certain time of the year, it's done. When the grass starts to grow, they would tender the hay. It was just an administrative function. And then they usually staff had the authority to accept the best proposal, and then they just went ahead and got it done. It's just called managing. Stacia?
Yeah, just if we're done this conversation, I was just wondering if we can go back to item number 6 on our regular agenda.
Yeah, the annual report, the council has just suggested that.
Sorry, item number 6. This was the
item
Head
number
Start?
6. Yeah, okay. Number 6, sure.
I just wanted to go back to that before we move on to our last couple of items here.
The daycare spot, right?
Yes, so this was the Head Start policy revisions.
So the program was 30 months and up, so we changed it from 18 to 30. So I was getting confused thinking that 18 months is still part of the morning program. It's not.
It's 30
It's
months.
24 to 30 months.
Okay, is the morning program.
Right. So totally, the drop-in program is for children of parents age 0 to 6. The morning program is for 30 months to 4 years of age. It has 5 spots for underage children, which is the 24 to 30 months.
Got it. Okay, that's clear.
So my fault. I got
Yeah.
myself confused.
Okay, that makes more sense now. So I wanted to come back
I know,
to
I'm
that
sorry.
before. Yeah, those are the only questions I had. So I don't know if anybody else has any on the policy change. I'm good with it. I can move that. Thanks for that, Angela and team,
Yes.
for answering my question.
Thanks, team is right.
Yeah.
Motion carried. Okay, the annual report, do you want, the council, they requested to deal with this when full council is here. It's been suggested that the report be updated and published at the end of January 2023. January 2024.
To utilize that $4,000, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
As part of an annual
Yeah, yeah.
report
Mhm.
distribution. Like,
Opposed to sending out this one and then turn around and send out another one
Right.
in January.
Yeah.
So,
Taking the
it's so
opportunity to
close, it's only a
update.
few months apart.
You want a motion, chief?
Yeah, well, Josh, is that you?
I'll
You're,
make a motion.
who will second it?
Second.
So whoever the chief is will have that responsibility.
I think the responsibility falls on a number of folks too. I don't want to discount or
Yeah.
discredit
See
like
that
all of
again.
those who were involved in that. I know AMSI played a role in that as in editing and corralling everybody to submit their pieces. So I believe it was an effort a coordinated effort amongst many folks.
What was well done, well received. So
Yeah.
it's been-
Yeah, on that note, chief, I believe it should be an administrative process and you have absolute oversight, but it should not be your responsibility to provide a report.
Yeah. Well, normally like at the AFN doesn't write their own report, the staff do, and then the national chief gets it and reviews it. And
Yeah.
signs it
So moving forward, it should be an annual thing. It shouldn't be something the council has
off. But
to
anyway,
request and
it
then.
got done, it doesn't
Yes.
matter how it gets
That's
done.
in the minutes.
Yeah.
6, 8 months ago, right? Yeah. It's annual.
Yeah, exactly.
And the senior
So-
staff are aware.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Caldwell, what's the direction? We're going to form a committee. So we'll defer this to,
would acknowledge the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
moved by Josh to acknowledge the presentation.
The W.J. Henderson Recreation Center. Renovation project.
I can second that.
Motion to go in camera.
Yeah, I can move.
Moved by Stacia, who will second it. Josh, motion's carried.